Hello, Eric Larson here with another video. In this case, we are talking about Fusion lofting. Fusion is a trademark of Autodesk in California, and Fusion is a great product. I love it. Certainly worth studying. Okay, this is the third video in a series. The first two focused on 2D and 3D sketching and creating solids using extrude and revolve. This video is going to be about using the loft function. Subsequent video will cover sweep. So we'll just do a quick recap of the previous two videos. We used extrude to create simple solids. We'll go over a quick example of how to create a 50mm cube, and then we'll also quickly review our example of using revolve. So let's jump out of the slideshow and minimize this, and we will jump into Fusion. Here is a new design. Here's Fusion. It's what we expect. If we select the XZ plane, create a sketch, we can create a very simple 2-point rectangle, 50mm on the side. I'm not going to dimension it. We can then select our profile. You can see that the profile is selected here. If we then pull down Create, Extrude, the first thing it wants is how far to do the extrusion. And there we go. 50mm, a new body. We say OK. There's our 50mm cube. Very simple. Okay. So we can turn off visibility of this one. Now let's say that we want to, and now our next example, we're gonna sketch on the XY plane. If we create sketch, we can create a circle. We'll make it 20 millimeters in diameter. Hit enter. Finish the sketch. There we go, and you can see our profile. We want to select the profile, not the arc. There we go. Now we have the profile selected. If we pull down Create, Revolve, the first thing it wants to know, since we've got our profile already selected, it wants to know which axis do we want to revolve around. Now we will select the y-axis, and okay, it says it's not visible, but that's fine. We'll just turn on visibility of bodies, and we will say we don't want cut. We want to say new body, and we'll say OK. And just to avoid confusion, we'll turn off visibility of our cube. And there's a torus rotating in space, or just sitting in space. It's also known as a donut, but it's there it is, very simple, and we can see that as our example of a way to create using revolve. And we'll clean this up. We don't actually expect to need it, and we can also clean up our first body. We will keep we don't need this sketch. This is our revolve sketch. We will keep this sketch, and we will label this as the base. We will name this as the base sketch. Okay, and if we turn it on, we can see the profile. Okay. Now let's go back to here and go to our slideshow. We've already seen this slide. We've already done the recap. So now we can talk about lofting. So lofting is simple, and all that you really need for lofting is two profiles. They're in two different planes. We'll go through an example to create a simple profile in the XZ plane. That's our base sketch, and then create an offset plane 50mm above it. We use the construct offset plane command to create the new plane. We then draw a second profile in the new offset plane, and then we can loft to create a solid. So let's go back to Fusion. Okay, here's our base sketch. Pardon me. if we select it and then go to construct, say offset plane, first thing it wants to know is, well, how far away from that plane do we want to be? We'll type in 50 and say OK. So here's our plane. It shows up here. It also shows up in our browser under construction, and we will label that as being offset plane. Okay, very good. Okay, now we've selected it. Oops, okay, we've selected this plane. If we go to create sketch, now we are sketching on the offset plane. But what might be a little bit confusing is that because that plane is transparent, we are looking through it, and what we see here is our first sketch, our base sketch. So I'm going to turn off visibility of that sketch so that it doesn't confuse us. And now we can create a 2-point rectangle on our offset plane. We finish the sketch. Everything is cool. We can turn on visibility of the base sketch, select the base, and now if we say create loft, the first thing it's wanting to know is, well, what's your second profile? So if I click on the second profile, wow, there it goes. Now we've created our 50 millimeter cube. We have 2 profiles. They're 50 millimeters apart. We say OK. There's our body. Now this is obviously not the most efficient way to create a cube, but what I hope to be showing you is that it's fairly simple. It's nothing drastically difficult. And I'm going to rename this sketch to be the offset. To be the offset sketch. And let's say that we wanted to do something a little bit more complicated. So let's double click on this and we'll edit the sketch. And let's say that instead of just the simple rectangle, let's inscribe a 3-point rectangle in the middle of this rectangle. That actually doesn't. I had hoped to. I'm gonna undo this one. I'm gonna say undo the 3-point rectangle. I'm gonna try it again, because what I want is I want to be at the midpoint, and the midpoint, and the midpoint. There. If we finish the sketch, turn on visibility of it, go back to our view cube, select home. Now we can see that our edited sketch is present. If we go in and edit our feature, which is the loft, and say edit the feature, okay, we've got this second profile selected. We want to hit the X, which will cause it to disappear, and what we want to do is select the interior inscribed rectangle. And now it's created our loft. We say OK. We can turn off visibility of the sketches, and what you can see is that we have a kind of an interesting shaped object. It's a twisted thing. And let's try that again. And you can see that it's a very interesting object. This would be a difficult thing to create using any machining process that I know about, but it would be very simple to produce with a 3D printer. So we go back to the home on the view cube, and you can see that here's our twisted object, which I think is pretty cool looking. So let's think about another choice. Let's edit the sketch again, and instead of an inscribed rectangle, let's put a center diameter circle. We hit enter, and now I'm going to use the trim tool, which is this little scissors, to remove these elements so that they don't cause us any confusion. We will say finish the sketch. Okay, now if we turn on the visibility of the sketches and go back to our feature tree edit the feature, we can click on the interior circle and say OK. And now we've created another object. We turn off the sketches. You can see that we've created an elephant stand. You know, another useful object. You know, this is a little more pedestrian, but it's just kind of interesting. And what it shows you is that lofting is essentially about filling in the differences between two profiles. That Fusion is smart enough to somehow determine how to create a solid that is an intermediate thing between two-dimensional profiles. So that is what we have for lofting for right now. Let's go back to the slideshow. And we've talked about lofting. We saw the example. It's pretty simple. We can recap it, and you know, I'll just be quick here. It's just another way to create solid bodies. You got two different profiles on two different planes. Fusion will blend them together. You can see hopefully that it's not very difficult. So the next video is going to be about sweep. So stand by. Coming up soon. Hope you like it. All right, that's all. See you later.